Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview. Every single week, I interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate professionals, and straight up top badasses that are out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And that's why they agree to take time out of their busy day to be here and share all their brilliance with us. So today, you guys got another rock star on the show. So our guest today, guys, check this out. A real estate agent that sold 125 homes in his first year of real estate. I mean, that's by far the record I've ever heard, right? I don't know if they track this and if there are records, but I've yet to hear an agent in their first year doing that kind of production. Continue growing and just building out, being very strategic and smart with leverage and delegation, ended up building out his team and exiting from production in 3.5 years. So we're talking in 3.5 years, able to do something that, a lot of real estate agents aren't able to do in 20 years, 30 years in this business, and continues to grow, expand, now creating other businesses that we'll get in and talk about. But this dude is on fire. So really stoked and honored to have Jason Smart on the show. Good show, my friend.
Thanks, Josh. Really excited to be here, man. It's cool. I've been watching your shows for like 3.5 years, and it's just surreal to actually put myself in a position where you'd even think of having me on as a guest. So I'm honored and very humbled.
Yeah, no, it truly means a lot, man, and your support. But dude, yeah, man, it's an honor to have you on, man. Again, it's leveling up like you have is just insane, dude. And that's you're the ideal guest that we are looking for on this show. People that are just out there crushing it and leveling up. And we talked before we hit the record button. Just about your core values and I guess your true north of why you're doing all of this stuff and how you make your decisions. And you're coming from the right place, man. So really excited to jump into this. But before we get into what you're doing today, dude, let's rewind the clocks, man. I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that let them hear. So like what got you into real estate in the first place? What was that trajectory, that journey that led you here in the first place in this industry?
Hitting a rock bottom financially was what brought me to real estate. So I'll tell you the journey. Throughout my 20s, I was always successful in the sense of upper middle class success. I was a bank manager for 7 years, had a nice cushy salary with good benefits and decent bonuses. A lot of people in my circle are very middle class and thought, wow, you've got it made. I always felt like there was a level of mediocrity that I was settling in myself. I always knew that I had more to offer and I had this entrepreneurial spirit. But what happened is I got comfortable and I had what I call these golden handcuffs. And a lot of people can probably relate to that. And then I decided, I unfortunately went through a divorce, which, set me back financially quite a bit. And then I had made a career shift and I started actually working for a technology company that was in the real estate space. And I became very enlightened on basically what the different lead generation sources out there are when it comes to the internet. And what I got sick of seeing, though, is agents not knowing how to systemize their businesses and how to convert leads. And so I actually started researching from the side of my desk. I was studying all the best in the industry that had built businesses off the internet, how they were doing that. And so I actually left that company and I started doing consulting, teaching realtors to basically do what I believed was the way to do real estate. Unfortunately, that led me to a non-compete type situation with that previous employer. They said I was competing with them when I wasn't. Anyways, I was not in a financial position where I could take on a juggernaut at that point. And so I ended up settling with them. And what it did is it actually turned out to be the best thing that happened in my life, Josh, at that time, because it set me down the path of building my own real estate business, proving the things that I believe to be possible with real estate, and being in a place today where I can actually mentor people now because I'm no longer in production in my business. I'm able to mentor other people to do what I've done. Because most people come into real estate and they just want to sell a whole bunch of houses, but they never take the time to actually deliberately plan a business. And so I've actually mentored, and I'm mentoring some people right now that are super successful, make tons of money, but have absolutely no balance, zero.
Yeah.
And that's not a good place to be because it's not sustainable. You and I both know, Josh, like if you're burnt out and you're not happy and your relationships are struggling, it's not worth all the money that you're making. And so I'm at a point now where I'm blessed to be able to help other people take the time to put the systems in play so that they can have the type of freedoms that I'm able to have now myself. So that's kind of my journey of how I got here. But life kicked me in the ass, and instead of being a victim, I pointed the finger at myself, took accountability, and just made shit happen, got shit done.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. It's so dope because and sometimes when doors close or things like that happen, your life gets turned upside down and you get dropped on your head. Right? Like it's easy to feel like things are collapsing and ending and whatever. But usually those open up the next biggest door. One has to shut for another one to open, and become those best blessings, which doesn't seem like it's a blessing in the moment, right? One question I have before we get into your first year, when I talk with a lot of consultants that were consultants before and consulting entrepreneurs and then jumped into entrepreneurship themselves, right? There's usually some learning lessons that you get a lot from the consulting end of what to do, but then when you're actually in the trenches yourself, you're like, oh, I wasn't, wasn't prepared for this, or, what were some of those things that, just kind of shocked you, or, were great learning lessons, if you will, when you jumped into the business, that maybe you didn't understand as a consultant?
Well, here's one thing I discovered is that most people aren't willing to do the work that it takes to be successful. They're willing to talk about it, but they're not actually willing to put the action behind it. Look, it's not sexy to be successful. You have to work hard. You have to work smart. And you have to be focused 80-90% of your time in income producing activities. And so what I found is like a lot of people spend their time in busy work. Things that make them feel like, oh, I'm really busy. I'm working on a blog post or social media or my website. But the reality of it is none of those things are actual income generating activities, at least in the real estate space. So what I did is when I came into the game, the opportunity that I saw, number one, is most people don't think of themselves as business owners when they're realtors. They think of themselves as realtors. So they're basically creating a job for themselves. So I came in immediately with the mindset I was going to build a business. In my first 3 weeks, Josh, I hired an assistant, which people were looking at me like, who the fuck is this guy, right? Like hiring an assistant. I got my Britney Spears headset on and I'm freaking, prospecting and doing this stuff. But why I did that is because I understood the value of my time. There's only X number of productive hours in a day that I had, right? And if I was going to spend my time, I needed it to be in the income producing timeframes, which was prospecting, following up, being in appointments with buyers and sellers, following up with my database, converting these internet leads that I had coming in. So literally I was just super action focused. And then by having an assistant, I was able to have her focus on the admin tasks, the $20 an hour or less tasks that really would have lost me money if I'd spent my time doing that. And it allowed me the freedom to work on my superpower. I know what I'm good at. And I guess another thing too is the lack of self-awareness sometimes with people. They don't really understand what they're truly good at. And I was fortunate to know that at a pretty early age in business. So coming into this, I knew my superpower and I just literally built a business around myself where I could focus my time on 80-90% of the time doing those activities. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep. Yeah. And what's cool about it, dude, is there's only 3 money-making activities, right? And you can call it lead gen, follow up, right? But it's number 1, setting appointments. Number 2, conducting those appointments. Number 3, negotiating contracts. And as you're leveling up into a team leader, whether you're recruiting buyers or sellers or agents, right, it continues being those 3 things, right? Because even if I'm out of recruiting, let's just say let's just say recruiting agents, like I'm recruiting recruiters now, right? So all ends up, it's those same things, and you could delegate out everything else and focus 80-90% of your time. Man, it allows that momentum to kick in, but in that first year, dude, even with an assistant, yep. Even if you know those right levers to pull, buttons to push, if you will, look, dude, there is, there's a ramp up and a build up time. We're in a business where the fruits of your labors today, you may not see for 4, 5, 6 months. Right. So like day one, when you jump into here, right. What were you doing to generate enough leads and to be able to I just can't even fathom even one assistant in your first year pop in that 125 deals. Right. Cause I hear a lot of agents that, might close, like the first 6 months, they may only close a few, right. And then their last, 6 months, they might close 25, 30 or whatever and have a killer first year. But kind of walk us through that, man. Cause it's so impressive, dude.
Thanks, man. No, I realize it's like, it's not the norm, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So number one, I wasn't willing to accept anything that was like, oh yeah, it's not realistic to do this. I wasn't going to accept that. I actually believed it was possible to do these crazy numbers. I didn't know I was going to do that many. My goal adjusted as I moved along, but what I did believe is in my skills and my strengths. So what I did is when I first came in, as my website was ramping up and my lead gen was happening, and I had a Real Geeks website at the time, and I still do today. What I did is I basically invested in things like Google AdWords, Bing AdWords, Facebook marketing. So I had a 3-pillar system to my business that I started with. So one of them was going to be internet leads, one of them was going to be referrals, and one of them was going to be social media. And I still have those same 3 marketing pillars that I run my business from today. And so by having that, it allowed me to not have shiny object syndrome, because a lot of realtors get distracted with new exciting things that they can spend money on because they think there's some secret formula to this business. And the reality of it is, Josh, as you and I both know, it's consistency in the things that you do. So I immediately invested in technology. So I had internet leads going. I had referrals. I focused on my database, my network of people that I knew, my sphere of influence. I created relationships with mortgage specialists in my market area so that we could get some referral business going back and forth, which turned out to be a good move. And then social media, I noticed there was nobody really doing anything with social media in my marketplace. So I thought that would be a great area for me to compete. So I was putting out a video every 2 weeks. I would send that out to my database. I'd be sending it out using Facebook and boosting it. I try to make a big deal of the listings I'd get by, doing, a full lifestyle video with the listing. But so where I started though in the beginning is I actually found an agent who I'd sold a website to a year and a half prior, who was doing absolutely nothing with it. She had probably 1,000 or 1,500 leads in her database that had not been touched. And she's like, oh yeah, I've only closed 1 sale in 15 months. I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll work out a split with you. And I was really generous. I'll give you 50% of any deals that I close, but let me just go work your database for you. And she's like, okay. And in that time frame, I set up $75,000 in GCI working her leads for an entire month. I set up so much business from that by that point, my lead gen had kicked in with my website that I'd invested in. So I was like, look, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go focus on my business now because I get 100% of that. But that at least gave me some momentum. And it was a win-win for her because you know what? There was an extra $37,000 of income that she made that she wouldn't have made otherwise, right? So, and these are just like your IDX registration leads that people do nothing with. So fast forward, I'm about 3.5 months into the business. I've closed 27 sales, or at least I have 27 sales in the pipeline at this point. So I've got momentum and I'm like, look, I'm all focused on growth. I don't care about net profitability, but at this point I've paid back any loan that I took out to start with. I've got cash. And my first investment from there was in somebody, and this is somebody I've known my entire life. He was a manager of a couple financial institutions and was a sharp guy, but was not making enough money to lead the life he wanted. And I knew he had the right skills and abilities for this business. So I created something called our client care program, which is really just an inside sales agent position. And I used that as a mentorship program. So I taught him to do what I did, how to prospect, how to get deep with clients, how to uncover those needs. And so what he did is he would tee up opportunities for me, and then I would go out and I would close them. And that was him building up his mentorship. And so he became an agent. He was doing his licensing during that time. And then about 4 months later, he became an agent. And because he'd been doing so much prospecting, he had a lot of opportunities that were under him. He was able to do 71 sales in his first 12 months as a realtor under my mentorship using the systems that I'd put in. And then I brought in someone else. So this was Jamie, who's a full-time client care manager with us still to this day. I treat him like a business partner, and I created a role around him. Now there's 2 full-time guys in that position that are doing that. There was one other girl that I brought through the program as well. She was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years, but she had just a killer personality. And I knew she was fit for this business. I just knew there was something special about her. And I was like, look, I have an opportunity for you. I think this would make sense. I paid her a salary. Both of them were paid a salary while they were doing this role. I would give them a percentage on deals, and basically helped her, again, get the confidence to learn how to prospect in our business, how to make things happen. And then she became an agent. And in her first year, she did 48 sales in her first year. And her second year, she followed up with another strong year, around 43. This was a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids for 5 years. And that's basic. I just used leverage early. Like most people would say, okay, wait till you have all this revenue. I'm like, look, I'm just going to start investing in people right away. And I'm going to take that risk because I believe the more people that I could have trained in our systems, the quicker we could scale. And then that was going to be my exit. So after about year 1.5, I was able to exit buyer production because I had 2 full-time agents. I had a full-time client care manager who was inside sales agent working those leads, and had my assistant. Then I was able to focus on the listing side. And that's what I did for about 2 years. And then recently was able to exit out of that because now I've had other agents that I've brought through. But it's just creating the departments and the processes for people to kind of work their way through, and using leverage quickly. So that way I could spend my time in high income producing activities.
Yeah, man, it's so brilliant, dude. And you said this earlier, but you came into this with a business owner mindset, right? And if you're a smart business owner and you're bootstrapping a company, like, you're not going to drain your company of revenue. You're going to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest, right? I mean, my highest net worth companies that I have today, right, it was, 3 or 4 years before I took a cent out of them, right? And but that's what accelerated that growth. Was investing in the talent, and where most real estate agents are trying to, everybody gets so tied up in profit margins, and I'm like, look, dude, if you are a true business owner entrepreneur, like, dude, my goal every year is to have a 0% profit margin. Yeah, right. Now, of course, I'm paying myself a salary through the business, so that I'm making money through a salary, W-2 salary, just like any other employee for my role in that company. Right. But the rest, I'm going to roll back into that company with growth and talent and systems, which, I didn't learn that, really the power of doing that and the leverage for about, 3 or 4 years in the business. And you knew that day one out of the gate. Now, another thing that, I want to just pick your brain on and just get your insight on is, like, if I bring a new agent into my team, right? Yep. Fresh out of school, like, I don't, I'm like, dude, you got to slow down to go fast. Right? Like, I don't want them focused on lead gen for like 30 days. Like, we're going to make sure that you have your tracking system set up. We're going to make sure that you master your CRM, which is your most important asset and tool inside this industry. Right. We're going to get the presentations down. We're going to get their expertise of the local market, right? Get their sphere of influence, past client, repeat referral plan in place, get those foundations in place, then add on, the lead gen once those are in place. Now, and this is, right, not everybody has this, the experience that you had in your previous companies, right? But because in your previous company, like, you had already mastered those things, right? Like, you had those foundation skill sets. So can you allude or just speak on the power of knowing the systems and mastering those processes before jumping in? Now, a new agent that might be listening to this today might have to master them today, but what is the importance of that? Like, the back end of, like, when you're getting these leads, you're not having to write out and master what your drip system is going to be and set up your whole entire system. Like, you had that stuff, I'm guessing, in place from the gate.
No, man, I'll be honest with you, Josh, I didn't. So I knew exactly how to have the conversations. I knew the importance of speed the lead. I knew the importance of persistence. The average internet lead is going to convert maybe on 8 touches. So I knew the importance of those things. But the reality of it is it took years before we kind of developed these refined drip systems that we have. That didn't come out of the gate. But what I knew is if I was action focused, I was doing prospecting and following up consistently, and I just made that my thing, that the revenue would take care of itself. And then over time, I could improve things. So in the beginning, we probably were a lot more transactional than we wanted to be, just because, look, I was brand new at this. I was smart, though. My assistant had 8 years experience, so I could really rely on her for a lot of things. But I had enough outside life experience and confidence in how to have these conversations that I could kind of wing it, if that makes sense, but then start developing the processes over time. And when you're in the whirlwind of production, and I think a lot of people will relate to this, it's really difficult to slow down and put processes in play or start teaching people these things. So if I could go back in time, I probably would have slowed down a little bit and spent time doing what you're talking about, Josh, like really mastering the processes, training those processes with my agents right out of the gate, giving them those tools. And so that's a mistake that I probably made early on. Luckily, I was still able to, build very profitable businesses and do very well, but we were more transactional in the beginning than I'd like to be. Now we've really built long-term follow-up systems. We've built in referral programs and things to make sure that, our clients are going to come back with us, right? So our referral business has grown exponentially through the things that we've been doing. And our clients our agents are very relational. We have a very client-centric model. We always had the mindset of being client-centric. We knew that we needed to create the best experience possible. But again, when you're drinking from a fire hose, sometimes it's a little bit more challenging. So slowing things down is not a bad idea for people to take the time to put those systems in, because it's like 2 steps backwards to take 5 forwards.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my favorite Abraham Lincoln quote is, if you gave me an axe in 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Yeah. Right. And it's just planning to make sure that you have those right tools. And look, I mean, when we jump into it, we all make those mistakes, but you were intelligent enough to grasp that early on and correct those mistakes.
Well, Josh, can I just interrupt for 2 seconds?
Yep.
The one thing though that I think I did really well is I invested in great people right away. And you and I both know a company is only good as its people. Yeah. And if you invest in great people and you put them in positions where they can really work on their one thing that they do exceptionally well, a lot of things will start just coming together and forming. And so that was one thing that I think I did well, is not being afraid to make investments in the right types of people and putting them in their superpowers so that they spend 80-90% of their day doing what they're exceptionally good at.
Yep. Yeah. One of my mentors, Darren Hardy, man, he always just repeating himself and just preaching the bigger your dream, the more important the team. Yeah. Right. And success doesn't happen alone. So I love it. But, and just kind of rewinding, going back deeper to this, right? Because to do what you did, to grow at that rate and to invest in those people, right away, it's like, man, you gotta have some balls, right? Like you gotta be, there's risk that's associated to that. And a lot of people have a lot of fear around that. And, the most successful entrepreneurs, it's like they just kind of have this like thing of, just like you talked about, that was taking place in your previous banking career of a lot of people are okay with good enough, right? But it's like, almost like the worst thing that could happen on this life is us to leave and die with knowing that we just operated in a mediocre state. We didn't leave it all in the field. We didn't do everything we could, to go out there and create greatness. Can you talk about just the mindset that you have found that it takes? Because now it's not just you, right? It's also the people that you plugged in that have had insane success, right? When you have brand new people that you're bringing into this industry and they're popping, or even brand new to your team, maybe not brand new in the industry, but when they're popping 40, 50 deals their first year, right? Man, they got to be, you can have all the skill in the world, but if you don't have the will, it's the combination of those two things. So like when it comes to a mindset thing, can you just kind of speak to, what has worked good for you and what you tapped into, or just really what it takes to go out there and take the risks and build what you have from a mindset perspective and controlling your mindset. And then after that, we'll talk about, the mindset of finding other people. Because a mistake that I've made many, many times, again, is hiring off a skill, but not making sure that they had that will to win. Right.
So here's the thing. When you hit a financial rock bottom like I did, and again, I was somebody that was very prideful. I had a 6-figure net worth in my 20s, and I built that up from nothing. I come from a middle-class background. It wasn't until I lost it all, basically, hit that rock bottom, that I realized I didn't starve. I still had all my skills. I still had self-belief. And so it was a matter of realizing that I can control my destiny. And I took the limits off myself by really focusing on having an abundance mindset and never being in a scarcity point, and always investing in the things that made sense. So because I had a 3-pillar approach from the beginning, right, with internet leads, referrals, and social media being my pillars, I've never nickel and dime spending money on all 3 of those things, ever. Because I know that those are going to be my pillars. And then I also knew that if I surrounded myself with great people who had also tasted adversity before, that we could build something great. Most of the people on my team know what it's like to be broke. They've kind of hit those rock bottoms, or they've hit those financial struggles. And so we all have that hunger. When things get tough, we get tougher. And it's really tough, Josh, when you sleep in silk sheets every night, to keep motivated, right? So once some people get to those points where if all their lives things have been very easy for them, they have a very weak mindset, and their mentality can be very soft. As soon as things get tough, they crumble. Now, when you get to the point where you're sleeping in silk sheets, like maybe where you and I might be at now. Now, again, I don't sleep in silk sheets, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we're in a good place. What motivates me now is giving back and helping other people break that cycle of not having financial freedom. And so my why is so deep, and I'm so motivated to make a difference in so many people's lives every day, that I still have that same fire and hunger that I did. It's just shifted. In the beginning, it was like, how can I get my family in a better position? Once I was able to address that, how can I help the families of the people around me? And now it's like this amazing movement where we're all working together collaboratively to make an impact in people's lives, one person at a time. And it's the coolest thing to get to that point. And so I guess coming from a place of like having been broke or having struggled or having failed miserably is a good place to come from, because if you look at the most successful people in history, they all have that link in common. They've all failed hard, every single one of them. Yeah.
Yep. Love it, dude. So, another thing about your business, which, when I jumped in the game, just like most agents, right? Like, you jump in and you're like, okay, what do I start doing? And your broker or somebody tells you, okay, like here's some Mike Ferry scripts, start cold calling. Right. Next thing you know, you're doing $1,000 to set one appointment, and it really lowers your capacity. And it took me about 6 months to really open up my eyes to, because if you look at true professional companies, they don't chase, they attract business, right? They're going to be inbound lead. Everything's going to be inbound lead generation. And right out of the gate, everything that you did was inbound, which again, if I can do inbound lead generation sources, I'm not having to waste that time on lead gen. I can then take my time on the follow-up, which is the most important part, than servicing the clients at the highest level. Can you kind of talk about the importance of inbound lead generation versus trying to just go out there and cold call, out of the phone book or circle prospecting, and how that's allowed you to scale?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I realize that I may have different philosophies than some people that in the industry. Anytime you're doing anything proactive, you're gonna succeed a lot better than if you're just waiting for things to happen. It's like the hawk versus the fat pigeon, right? Hawk eats when he's hungry. A fat pigeon is waiting for the scraps. So you have to have that mindset that you're going to make things happen. What I loved is the ability to generate leads from the internet predictably. Like every single day, every single week, every single month, I know that there's a consistent amount of leads that come into my business. That allows me the confidence of knowing that I always have income producing activities that I can be doing every single day. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So again, the 3-pillar system. So we'd have our sphere and our database, our networks with our referral partners. We had our social media stuff, which was building up that brand awareness, that mind share, which would again create us being an option in people's minds. And then the online lead generation. I was spending heavily in Google AdWords, Bing AdWords, Facebook advertising. It just gave me predictable opportunities to follow up with. So I didn't have to go and do a bunch of open houses and pray that people walk through my house. Now, again, I'm not saying that open houses don't work. Obviously, they can work brilliantly. But for me, I didn't need that because I had so many inbound opportunities. In fact, I've done very few open houses personally in my life because I've got this tool right here. I mean, with text and email and follow-up, it's amazing what you can do on the phones. And when you're generating hundreds of leads per month through your different marketing efforts, it gives you a lot of confidence and it allows you to start building a pipeline. And part of it is people get impatient and they're not willing to be honest with themselves. They're not doing enough follow-up to really see the fruits of their labor. And that's the difference between myself and why maybe somebody who's not successful with that model is they're not probably doing the right thing, saying the right thing. So they maybe haven't practiced their skills, but they just don't have the persistence and they're not coming at it from a point of value. Everything we do is there's no manipulation. There's no trying to manipulate the client to act in a certain way. It's how can we genuinely understand what they're looking for and then provide solutions to help them do that? How can we make the home search process easier? How can we make sure when they have questions that we are there in a timely fashion? How can we provide added value items about the communities or the areas they're looking at? And that's sort of our focus is we're very focused on providing added value and we're never focused on outcome. It's never like, oh, I got to get an appointment. I got to sell you a house. Because when you act that way, you become very egocentric and the clients feel that. They're like, this guy is just about himself. And it actually starts putting them off. When you're all about them and it's really a genuine thing, it's pretty cool. You can build rapport and trust very, very quickly. And if you look at any of our scripts, any of our stuff that we use, It's all very client-centric, and it's designed to build very deep rapport with clients quickly, and then help us get to a point where we understand what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I love it, dude. It's. I mean, if we look at the consumer, we're no different, even though we're in sales for real estate. But if we take our minds out of our own business and think of ourselves as a consumer, put on our consumer hat, like we hate being sold too. Right? Like everybody wants to consume, but they hate being sold. Right. And it sounds like you guys are just having an approach of look, we're not here to sell you, we're here to serve you. What is the information that you want? What is they need? And you're just giving up people what you want. You get what you want. So can you give us some, go ahead.
No, sorry, Josh. One thing is we never recommend a solution to someone until we fully understand what they're looking for and what they need. And that's so important. If anybody gets anything from this call today or this podcast, if you don't understand your client, what their true needs are, their motivations, their whys they're doing something, and you're making recommendations to them, you're selling. Stop selling. Start learning about your client and then start tailoring solutions. Once they know you've heard them and understand them, then start tailoring the solutions. And it's a completely different, it's a more advisory approach to sales. So anyways, that's
what's some of the recommended or best questions that you utilize to be able to get that deep learning about what they truly want? Because sometimes we're like, oh, what do you want in a house? So like, well, I want granite countertops. I want this, right? Where what they truly want is to shave off 45 minutes each way of their commute so they can spend more time with their family, right? Like there's Band-Aids, and then it's like, well, how do you get to the bullet hole? Right?
Yeah, so if all you know about your prospect is like, well, they're looking for a house with granite countertops and it's got to be turnkey and they want to be in this good neighborhood because it's in a good catchment, you got to dig a little bit deeper. So some good questions to ask would be, Josh, what has you thinking about making this move? What would improve for you by making this move? A couple questions like that can start getting deeper to the true why, because people won't sell and they won't buy unless there's a true reason for it. And if you consistently are taking listings that are like way overpriced and you have unmotivated sellers, it's because you're not taking the time to really understand and qualify who they are and why they're wanting to do something. And that's something, if you can become a master of really understanding the true reasons someone's doing something, it's so much easier to make recommendations and move the process along. And I think too many people lack the confidence, or they jump too quickly to trying to recommend something. And I'll give you an example. In my coaching with people, I often will find they'll ask the question, hey, in order to buy this next house, is there a home you need to sell first? Well, yeah, we have to sell our house first, blah, blah, blah. And they get all the information. And then instead of continuing on with the process of learning more about that prospect, they immediately try and schedule a CMA. Well, what you've done there is you've stopped the flow of rapport and trust being built. You've stopped the flow of understanding your client, and you're probably missing some really important information. And now you're in selling mode. So they may agree with you, they may not, but the reality of it is if you slow down and really continue on the path of understanding them, and then do a proper recap of the things that you've uncovered. Like for example, Josh, you told me you're looking for a turnkey house. You want to be in this neighborhood because it's going to be better for your family. It sounds like I'm going to be able to shave 10 hours a week in commuting for you. It sounds like, the nature trails that are nearby are going to be really great for your family. Is there anything else that I've missed? That key question there in your recap is so important. Is there anything else that I've missed? That allows your client to say, well, actually, another thing that's really important for me is this or that. Great. Then you go back and again, just make sure you've got the right information. Once you understand and the client agrees with you, like, yeah, these are the things that I'm looking for, now you've earned the right to make a recommendation. Josh, you mentioned you'd have a house you need to sell first. Obviously, it would make sense for us to get together so I can give you a market opinion and we can really solidify how you can maximize the equity from the home so that this next purchase is seamless. And then you can go and book the appointment. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep. 100%, man. Love it, dude. And yeah, at the end of the day, all sales for any product, including houses, it all comes down to pain and pleasure, right? Like they're wanting to move because their current living situation is creating some type of a pain, right? And moving to wherever they're going to go removes that pain and brings them to that pleasure state. And you're just really tapping into, what that pain is. And so then from there, once you know the pain and pleasure, you just got to articulate that you're the best guide to bring them through that process.
Yeah, and the thing is, at that point, because you're so client centric and about them, they already know you're the best guy because they're like, wow, this guy really understands me. This guy here, he knows me. He's talking about the right things. And so when you make recommendations, they're much more likely to agree with you. So very little of what I train or what I do is look at me, I'm the best ever. It's always about how can I help you outperform the market? How can I help you make a really smart buying decision and protect you in the process? You know what I'm saying? How can I help you achieve these improvements in your life that you're looking to make? And that's a core principle of our group. One of the things that you'd notice if you came and spent any time with any of us, there's very, very little ego in our office. Like, you've got a lot of very giving people that care about making a difference, and they care about one another. It's a really special thing that we've built. I'm like blessed every day to come to work with these people.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Love it, man. So then, going into the social media front, right? Because it's something that I truly believe everybody should be tapping into. And it doesn't matter if what your lead source is, right? Social media can just enhance it. And if we look at, especially Facebook, man, I mean, 2.7 active monthly billion users. And, it's just insane with that. And it helps you with your clients, past clients, repeat referral business, like all fronts of it, plus getting new clients. But a lot of agents, I from my conversations, a lot of agents of the reason that they're not taking action on it is they don't know what content to be posting, right? Because the thing I hear over and over and over from real estate agents is, look, I don't want to be that, salesy, in your face real estate agent. And nobody wants that either, right? Nobody wants that douchey, looking to buy a house, come through me, right? It really comes down to about telling stories but getting people to engage. So like, what are you guys doing? Kind of what's your strategy around social media to get people to know you, like you, trust you, be aware of what you do, but without kind of being annoying and in their face?
Sure. Yeah. So I think what's important, number one, is you got to be yourself. You have to be authentic. You have to be willing to entertain your audience too. So it's okay to show some humor. It's okay to be different. Very little of the marketing that we do is sales focused, like call us today or this or that. It's very much about, say we have a listing. How can we showcase that listing in the best light? How can we strike an emotional connection with the audience? And how can we make our sellers really proud of the way their home's being marketed so that their friends and family will see? And then, of course, how can we slide our branding into that so people know who stands behind those standards of marketing? We do community videos where we showcase the best areas in our community, and we take the time to really create content that's valuable. And what we found is for people that are moving into our market area, those videos are incredibly powerful for drip campaigns. Because if I'm looking at moving in a specific neighborhood and I don't know much about it, and you've got some professionally produced content or something that's of value that gets me excited and start seeing some of the things that may connect with me, that's worked really well for us. We do this thing annually, and we've done it for 3 years in a row. It's called the 12 Days of Simsmas, which is our social media. It's like a big social media giveaway that we do. And we actually go and we partner with local businesses, and we feature those businesses, and we kind of create like a funny, fun video with them. And then we blast it on Facebook, and people can go and they can share it and get involved in the contest. And we give away like trips and big screen TVs and all sorts of fun stuff. But again, it's a great way for us to connect with the audience on multiple different levels. And it's a consistent thing that you want to do in your business. You can also educate your audience by creating videos, by bringing in outside professionals for different things. And that could be incredibly valuable. So it's just consistency in doing it, but also being different. Don't try to copy everybody else. Try to be yourself. How can you become a community ambassador for your area? How can you be the person that stands out? And what you're really trying to do is build mind share. Why do people invest in bus benches and billboards and mailers and all this stuff? Is because they want to have mind share. Well, I find social media is one of the most incredible and powerful ways to get mind share and become an option in people's eyes. Because if they consistently see you doing things at a high standard, and being entertained by your stuff, even if they've just seen 1 or 2 videos here and there, that consistency, when the timing's right, will get you more at bats than not. Because if you're not an option in people's minds because they don't know who you are, it's tough to get those opportunities, as you would know, Josh.
Yep. Love it, dude. So then when you're talking about this content that you guys are creating and putting out there, is this stuff that you're pushing on your personal page, your business page, or you're putting money behind this with your ads to the community? Like, what are you guys doing?
I do it through my business page. So I'm boosting it through my business page, and then I'll probably share it on my personal page as well, because there's a kind of an element of entertainment in a lot of the things that we do anyways. And then I'll boost those videos as well, so we can go and target sort of the demographics that we want to put these videos in front. I did this thing this year that was kind of different. It's called #Dadvice. It's kind of like a comedy series of me being a dad. I have 4 kids, and I just had a little baby girl for the first time. And there's just some ridiculous stuff that I do, you know, like going grocery shopping with 4 kids by myself, or, you know, just like silly life things that happen. And the engagement we got from women, especially in moms, was huge. And that was like a big target focus for us, right? Families. Most of us have families in our group. And so being able to connect with them on a fun level is pretty cool. And one thing I will say with video, just because people aren't necessarily engaging or liking your stuff, they're watching. You know, there's those views, like there are people that are watching your stuff, and you just don't know how powerful that is. But it happens to me frequently, or people like, oh, hey, you're the Facebook guy, or hey, I've seen you there, or I watched your Dadvice episode. That was hilarious, and blah, blah, blah. And it's pretty cool if you're consistent with it, how it can really dramatically impact your business.
So when it comes to the consistency, dude, because, you know, even like on our personal pages, I mean, I don't know, I heard a stat the other day that like only 25% of even your friends will see that post because of, you know, Facebook's limiting the reach that goes out with this stuff. So consistency becomes so important, you know, right? Can you talk about like, what does that mean? I mean, it's a saturated areas. Is consistency a post a week? Is that, you know, 4 posts a day? You know, like, what does this look like?
Sure. Like for me, it was a post every 2 weeks when I started. And then now it's every listing that we get, we'll post a fully narrated lifestyle video to our business page, and we'll target it out there and, you know, do a full production of it. And every property is marketed differently and uniquely. So it's, even if you're not buying a house, it's still entertaining to watch. And it's still like, wow, like I really like that house. So we get a lot of comments. People are like, oh my God, I watch all your videos. I look forward to those. The Dadvice stuff, we were doing that once every 2 weeks. We've slowed it down now. We've done about 12 episodes, and, you know, we've slowed it down where we're probably going to do 1 a month. And then our helpful videos, you know, we were a lot more consistent in the beginning, but we're putting out so much different content. I'd say, you know, at least post something 1 or 2 times a week, you know, if you can. Behind the scenes footage, if you're getting like a video done on a property and you're involved in that, for example, you're doing like a narrated lifestyle video, we'll do some behind the scenes video takes while you're there that are kind of funny. And those are perfect for Instagram. Like we did one recently. It was a behind the scenes called, you know, Big Decks, right? And so we were just like laughing, right? I'm talking to the girls. I'm like, hey, do you like small, medium, or average decks? And they're like, oh, I like really big decks. You know, like just silly, goofy stuff that's happening behind the scenes. Like, because with me, like I like to have fun when I'm doing these videos. That's like, for me, it's like my release. When I go and I get a new blank canvas, a new listing that I get to market, I love to be able to go to do that. So I've got my team members doing those behind the scenes footages as well now. And so I find that's pretty engaging because it gives people an insight into your world. And I obviously want them to see the fun sides of what I do. I don't want them seeing me stressed out all the time and getting these gray hairs, because there is that part of our business too. But it's real though. It's like stuff that's authentic and genuine. So.
Yeah. It's so, you know, because we want to look so professional, or we get that mindset, you know, right? But it's like one of my teammates, he did a video showcasing one of the lakes, you know, right? And he went wakeboarding on the lake, and he'd never been wakeboarding before, you know, right? But he wanted to like show him behind the boat, and did like his monthly video market update, you know, out there while he's in the lake, and had this. But at the end was like the blooper reel of him like face planting over and over and over. But that was like one of his highest engaged ever videos, you know, right? It was, you know, just showing people that he's human and who he is, and, you know, and yeah, like we got to have fun with it, man. And you know, don't be afraid of that. Right. Cause it's
totally,
and it's something I need to do a better job with, you know, right. I get so intense and so focused, and that's kind of who I am, but you know, right. You know, but
lighten up, man. People love that. I'm telling you, like one thing for me is I'm always myself. And I think that's one thing that people appreciate. Some people might not want to deal with me because I talk with my hands too much or whatever. Who cares? There's somebody for everybody. But at the end of the day, anybody that truly gets to know me knows that like what you see is what you get. Like Jason is like a very caring, passionate person, loves what he does, and he's always genuinely looking to help others. And that's what I want to convey through my videos. But I also have this super, you know, light side to me, and I like to have like jokes and laugh. And I purposely don't wear 3-piece suits. I purposely don't have like that perfect image, because I feel like that's that's just not real. You know, like for most people, if you're in real estate, be yourself. Don't try to be something that you think you need to be. Be who you are, and you'll attract more people and you'll have way more fun in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it, dude. So, you talked about identifying you're with your teammates and your staff that are on your team. One of the things as people are growing and expanding that I hear over and over and over from them is, oh man, it's so hard to find great talent. It's, right. That becomes kind of their Achilles heel. And, when I hear that, it typically just means you have shitty processes and systems. And part of that is your hiring process, but you've been, you've had such good success and built so much momentum because you've got the hiring process down, right? Can you kind of walk us through that? Like if somebody's looking to hire that first assistant, or like you have with your client care, which is, the ISA role or whatever, how do you identify that right fit like you've done such a great job with?
Well, okay. In our business in real estate, I'm a big believer in emotional intelligence. Right? If you're emotionally intelligent, you're in tune with people's feelings, you can build rapport and you can build trust with people and you come from a genuine place. I'll look for attitude and somebody that has those qualities over experience all day, every day. I personally don't mesh super well as far as like building a team. Like I could collaborate really well with people that are very more ego driven, like I'm number one, I'm the best, I have the best marketing. This is how I do things. But I wouldn't want to build a business with people like that, if that makes sense. Like that's not my style. I've found that you can be way more successful just by hiring emotionally intelligent people that genuinely care. So if you're going to be in a people facing role, like a realtor, listing agent, you're going to be on the phones. If you don't like people and they don't energize you and you're not motivated to kind of work and get excited about that, then it's not going to work for you. And sometimes the best hires aren't the most obvious ones either. Like that's why I don't always think like accountants would make the best recruiters, right? Because they look at things very black and white. Whereas someone like myself, I kind of see things in gray. I'm like, I see potential in people. I've always had this gift of being able to read people or at least get a good sense of who they are and their core values. And if you can find the right talent, the people that have that drive and that desire, but come from a place of like wanting to help others, I'll look for those people. And I would rather build an agent from scratch who has no bad habits than hire somebody with experience. And in fact, my best hires and the most highest producing agents that I have all were brand new to real estate when I took them in, and I was able to mold them to our systems, and they didn't know any better. All they knew is like how much I did in my first year. And I was like, look, the world is like your oyster. Like, I believe you can do amazing things. And they've gone on to do like exceptionally well, which most people look at them like, holy crap, I can't believe you sold that many houses, but they didn't know any different. In their eyes, they're like, well, isn't that just normal? And I'm like, I want them to think like that because like who dictates what's realistic? Who's they?
Right.
Well, they say it's not realistic. Well, who the hell's they? Who made these rules? Like there's people that have been on the moon, man. Like selling houses is not rocket science, and it's certainly not surgery or anything like that. So there's nothing special about us, but it's certainly possible to do a lot of things if you just set your mindset right.
Yep. Love it, dude. Couldn't agree more, man. And one thing that I took away from you just sharing what you just shared was, and I don't know, I don't want to say most of your success with hiring, but an important component to it is you're very clear on your core values of that you operate by, and the environment with people that you want to have around you that allows you to operate at your best version of yourself as the leader. Yeah, right. A lot of people are just looking at what's the best talent for this position. They don't think about, well, how's this person going to affect me and my ability to go out there and operate the best version of myself. And you're so clear on that, which you alluded to. Do you think that that's, a mistake that a lot of people make when hiring is they don't get a lot of clarity and deep clarity on that first?
Yeah, you need to know your why. You need to know who you are, and you need to know the values as a group that you have. So like developing a mission statement, knowing that the kind of people that you work with. In order for a team to work well together, you can't come in from a place of ego. It can't be there can't be a lot of I. It has to be like we. I treat everybody like my business partners. I don't really believe in the whole like hierarchy system where like one person dictates everything and it's like that CEO mentality where you all work for me. I believe in we all work collectively together, and together we're moving this company forwards. Now, everybody has different positions within this group, but it's like a football team, right? You need every single position, and you need to find the best in that position, but they also have to be able to work as a unit. Because like we've all seen it, like superstars don't always make the best teams, do they? Or the best teammates.
Right.
We've seen that over and over in history, right? Like, I don't know if you watch basketball, but obviously Toronto Raptors winning a championship this year was pretty amazing. Kawhi Leonard was one of the most humble leaders. The guy's a friggin' superstar, one of the best players in the world, yet the way he carried himself, he was a humble leader, and he made the people around him better, and he worked within a system well. I would take someone like that over someone who's a little bit more egocentric and flashy, because good teammates, people that are trying to make other people better and not just be the star and look the best, they'll thrive. And sometimes that means maybe you get a little less superstars, but more just like real steady Eddie producers that want to be a part of a system and grind with you. I find that works well. So culture is everything. If you know what your culture is that you want, you know what your core values are, start attracting people that have those same values, because from a place of values, people will want to stay. I'm very blessed to have very, very little turnover because we're all building this together and we're all collaborating and working together, and everybody's respected for the roles that they have. And I empower them. I allow them to make mistakes. What you don't want is you don't want an organization where everybody's afraid to make a mistake, because then you get paralysis, right? Nobody's doing anything. They're just waiting for the leader to tell them what to do. I empower my people. I'm like, look, go skin your knees. Go try this. You have an idea? Hey, it makes sense. Let's give it a go. What's the worst thing that'll happen? We learn from it. We've wasted a little bit of time and money on something. As long as it's directionally correct, I make decisions that way. I'm very action orientated, and I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not trying to make everything perfect, because as you know, your team is reinventing itself all the time, right? My team we're reinventing ourselves all the time. We're always tweaking and trying to be better. So we've never been perfect, and we never will be. So once you accept that, then you can focus on doing things from a place of how can I help? How can I make my clients better? And as long as we're coming from that place, everything else will start falling into play. And it's a continual tweak that you're just doing to your business. And so I guess I'm kind of going all over the place, but the key is the culture within your company is everything, I believe.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Love it, dude. Before we hit the record button, you talked about a little bit, about how you operate just personally in your relationship with money, if you will, right? You made a statement of, look, I don't care about having some big fancy yacht or different things. And I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but as well in the podcast, but so many agents as they're building, I like, for example, I just did a coaching training to my alumni clients on this. And this was a suggestion from one of the members that put a post in there. He's like, always agents are freaking out of, Zillow and all the stuff that's happening in our industry. He's like, I think the true cancer is to our industry is growth. He's like, I know several people that have tried creating teams and grew themselves into poverty. Right. A lot of times that's because they're still operating from the same margins and same income as they did as an individual agent. That doesn't work as margins get thinner as you grow and expand. And but you gotta be frugal. You gotta be able to reinvest that money, and you gotta be prepared for that. And can you just talk a little bit about like what you've done there to prepare that to be able to reinvest in the company and just what that takes?
Sure. So my wife and I sat down together and we figured out, okay, how much do we need to live comfortably within the lifestyle of? And so we determined $180,000 a year was like, for us, with our lifestyle, we'd be comfortable with that. Now, some people would be like, that's a lot of money. And some people would say, oh, that's nothing, right? But for our lifestyle, everything we need, we can live off $180,000 a year. So once we determined that number, that's the salary that I pay myself for my company. And so any net profits that I make outside of that, I reinvest back into other assets in the company. I make investments in people, and I'm always moving the yardsticks forward, but I live off 180,000. That's what I live off of. And I'm blessed that I make considerably more than that, but I keep it within the company and I make other investments so that I have multiple streams of income in for the future. And what I'm trying to mentor my people as well is like, find out what you need to live comfortably, but not this crazy lavish lifestyle, and start reinvesting back in yourself. And so probably what happens with a lot of team leaders is their income grows exponentially, and so do all the toys and all the things that really don't matter. And look, I'm not putting people down for having a yacht. Like if you love boating and you've worked your whole life and you want to have a yacht, that's amazing. Like go and do that. It just, for me, I'm still in growth mode. You know, I've been in this business for just over 3.5 years. I just invested in a coaching company that we're building now, and we're building a media company that all feeds into our businesses. I'm hungry and motivated still to keep building that, because this is how I'm going to change the people that I work with's lives. Like they don't get pension plans in real estate, right? So it's the other investments and the other income streams that we're generating that are going to help these guys be financially free. And so if there's a downturn, which we've been working through a downturn in our market area, like the market dropped 27% last year, we're still able to grow about 24% or something like that. It's declining again this year, but again, we're pushing forwards. I want to be in a position where if things got really, really bad, that I could still keep everybody employed. And that means if I have to live off less, I'll live off less. You know, like I want to be in a place where I don't have a lot of debt. In fact, our company has no debt, which is nice. And that the only debt I have is just my real estate assets, which, you know, is just smart leveraged money, right?
Yeah, love it, man. A game changer for me about halfway through my career. Now, I'd always still lived below my means, and you know, when I was comparing myself to most other people, right? But not comparing myself to like, what do self-made, truly wealthy people, you know, I didn't have, you know, I wasn't operating off that model. And one of my mentors who, you know, is dude makes like $36,000 an hour, right? Like the dude is just is a pimp, right? And he goes, you know the difference between me and you? And I was like, what? And he goes, I'm actually rich, and you're trying to prove to the rest of the world that you're rich, you know, right? And it was like a dagger to the heart, right? But I needed to hear that message, yeah, right? And he goes, dude, if you want to create wealth, he's like, dude, you need to get to the point where you're operating at no more than 20% of your income, right? Like pay your 30, 40% taxes, right? But that's going to give you 40 to 50% then to go reinvest into growth and creating true wealth. And he's like, that's the plan to wealth. So if they want the yacht, he's like, dude, like this guy's got his own private plane and all this stuff. And he's like, if I want the private plane, that's fine. But I'm not going to buy that until my 20% is increased, you know, right? Or if it's an investment for business, you know, right? But you got to be smart with it, dude. And never sacrifice what you want most for what you want in the moment, right?
Totally. And again, it's like, so many people are doing it because they think that's the image, or it comes from a place of ego. Like, you know, if you don't mind me sharing this, but like before we did the podcast, I asked you a question. I was like, hey, you know, how long did it take you to get out of production? And like, you know, you caught yourself going to a place of being like, trying to be like, well, like justify your results, which were amazing. You're like, you did phenomenal in your first year, second, third year, but like somehow you felt like this. And again, we all have this in us, and it's important. I always try to check this part of myself, is like, why are we trying to compete with one another? Like, dude, you're way more successful than I am. If you think about it at this point in your life, you've got so many companies, but yet when we were talking about what your progress was, it was like, well, but it was a different time and everything else. And it probably was. And I'm saying that, but too many people are doing things from ego, if that makes sense. Because we all have that. But it's like, as soon as you check that and you're just like, look, I don't care about that. All I care about like is seeing you win and succeed in whatever level that is. And you just have that mindset going forwards. It changes people, and it changes your thinking, and it allows you to make decisions and have bigger balls like you're talking about to take those risks, because you just believe that it'll come back to you if you just do the right things. My whole philosophy on life is based on the book, The Go-Giver. I don't know if you've ever read that, but I love that book. It's such a simple concept, but I've actually built my whole business and everything I do in my life around that. And I'm certainly not the most successful financially guy in the world. There's lots of people making way, way, way more money than me, but I'm actually really happy because I get to work within my values, and I get to work with people that have those same values every day. And I love that. Like I feel like a free man living the way that I do. It's so cool. And you know, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, Warren Buffett talks about, you know, the only way to create true success is to learn to operate from an internal compass. And he talks about how his father really instilled that when they were young, of your external compass, which is the keeping up with the Joneses game, you know, right? And then operating from your internal compass. And the only way to find true fulfillment is operate from that internal compass. And it's so important. I know we're going long on time, but I want to just hit on one more thing, which is your coaching company. You know, because look, dude, there's so many coaches in our space. There's so many, you know, people that are doing, you know, it's such a saturated space. However, there's very few coaches that have actually built a successful real estate business, you know, and that aren't operating from a place of theory. right? Most of the coaches in our space, either haven't ever created a real estate company themselves or had success with it, right? Or they did it 20, 30 years ago and it just isn't applicable to what we see today. So with that being said, I know that you recently just started your coaching company. Can you just talk a little bit about it, and then where would our listeners go if they want to, if they're really resonating with you and want to learn more about being coached by you, which, man, having the right coach and the right mentor is the ultimate hack to success, right?
Huge.
So yeah, can you just talk about that for a moment?
Sure. Yeah. So thanks for that. Look, we're not trying to be like Tom Ferry where we have thousands of clients or like the number one coach. It's not about that. I want to work with people that would be serious about building a business because they want financial security for themselves, and then also want to be able to give that back to others too within the organization. So the people that would probably resonate well with me and my style would be, again, those givers, people that are looking to make a difference in people's lives. If anything that I've talked about today resonates, you can reach out to us. Jason at simscoachingsystems.com is a great way to do that. My whole philosophy is I want to teach you to become a business owner versus just a successful realtor. That's really the difference, is how can you create the systems and blueprints in your business so that you can work your way out of production and have something to work on. And I think it's amazing when you're able to do that, what it opens up. My team members are actually happier with me out of production than when I was in production. And the reason for that is because now I'm able to invest more time into helping them be successful. I'm able to invest in other ventures now that help benefit their lives. So they're more engaged and more excited about what we're building. So again, our whole coaching program is really, we like to keep it simple and basic, using the strategies we know work, but adapting them to the different clients that we have who all have different needs. But how can you build an actual systemized business that you'll be able to exit production out of in a reasonable time frame, or at very least have balance? Maybe you love selling real estate and you want to be able to do that, but you need to be able to take your holidays. You need to be able to take 2 days off a week at least, maybe 3 days a week. And so how can we help you put the systems in play to do that? So that's basically really what our coaching program is about, man. And it's we've been working with some clients now for a couple months. We're seeing some huge wins, and I'm loving it every day. And it's I'm just grateful for this opportunity too. Like, you've just done so well, and thanks for having me on the show. Like I said, I'm really honored.
Yeah, no, me as well, man. No, and something that you said earlier, I think is so important. I hope everybody picked up on this. You said that I'm gonna be the richest guy, the wealthiest guy, but I'm happy. Right. There's so many people that lose that sense of joy and happiness and fulfillment in life on this path to success. And I've had moments of my life where I'm working 4 a.m. to midnight and you're just grinding. You get to the point like, why the fuck am I doing this? Right. Like, you're making money, right? But you're just miserable, and it's such a delicate, balance, if you will, to find that. And, and you've created it, right? And I believe, dude, don't reinvent the wheel, man. Like, so if you're somebody that does want to go out there and exit from production, create a true real estate business, but also have that balance and have that happiness, the best person to be coached from is somebody that's doing it and done it, right? So love it, dude. Then also, because again, I'm a big believer in, I don't try to figure anything out anymore, right? Like, once I come up with, okay, hey, like this is the direction I need to go in my business. My first question is, who is the best person out there that's crushing it with this that I can copy all their shit from? Like, I tell you, like, I'm not a great real estate agent, not a great team member, I'm just a great pirate, right? R&D, rip off and duplicate. So like with your social media and things like that, if people want to just check out what you're doing to try to replicate it and follow you and stay in touch with you, where's the best place to do that?
You know what? Check out our Sims Real Estate Group page. So you can check that out. You can check out our #dadvice page if you want to see just a completely lighter side of real estate too, which has nothing actually to do with real estate. Those are a business page. Our Sims coaching page is we haven't posted a lot of content to that yet. So I'd really just check out our Sims Real Estate Group page. You can check us out on YouTube as well, see some of the content we've put there. We haven't done a lot of advertising through YouTube, but we've certainly have a lot of content there. And then just reach out, man. Like, I'm the kind of person, I've always had this mindset since I started in the business. I always make time for people. I want to help as many people as I can. And sometimes maybe to my own detriment, in the sense that I'm like overcommitting myself, but I'd rather be that person that at least gives you a few minutes of his day to just like give you something of value. Cause there's a lot of people that have done that for me as well. And yeah, it's just cool. Like I said, we're technically competitors, but we're not. You know what I'm saying? Like you've built an amazing coaching company, and I've heard lots of great things about the programs you've put on. And like, there's a lot of value that people can get from that, including myself. And it's just like, we all have to have this collaborative mindset if we want to have abundance, and not this whole, let's cutthroat each other. Let's work together and make this industry better. And that's how we're going to overcome these threats that, you know, everybody's worried about, is like, let's become better at what we do. Let's elevate ourselves in the eyes of the consumer. So they're like, wow, the industry has changed a lot. There's some really good quality people in the game. And the only way for us to get there is working together collectively.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, dude. The NAR Danger Report that got introduced a few years ago, right? Which was the dangers that we're facing as a real estate business, and the number one threat to the real estate industry, according to NAR's Danger Report, was the real estate agent themselves.
Yep.
Right. And just for a lot of the reasons that you're talking about. Right. So love it. And those that are watching and listening, I know you interview podcast for this, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information is empowered. It's taking that information, taking massive action on it that allows you to create the power in your life for you to go out there and create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Jason shared so many amazing pieces of advice with you guys today. Take something that you learned, go out there and take massive action on it. So again, you can go out there and create the life that you know you and your family deserves and that you truly want. And Jason, I know you're a busy man, and truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy to be here, dude. This has been a lot of fun and a huge honor, man.
Cool, man. Yeah, thanks, Josh. I'd love to stay in touch with you. You are somebody that I've looked up to indirectly, and you probably didn't even know that, but I've watched a lot of your stuff, and you've inspired a lot of agents in the industry. And cool to hear that how many successful businesses that you're working on. And thank you, man. Thank you for being a contributor, and I appreciate this opportunity today.
Yep, truly means a lot, my friend. All right, you guys, we will see you next time. Peace.
Thanks, Josh.
Hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.